Choose one of my girls, human. I picked the ugliest, because she was very special. The chamber was larger than any building Elia's ward had ever seen. It was not wide like a stadium, but tall, so tall that the ceiling curved out of sight, glowing softly like a pale sunrise trapped inside crystal. The floor beneath Elia's boots was smooth and warm, made of living material that responded gently to each step. Every sound echoed just enough to remind him how small he was here. Elias stood alone at the center. He was a human envoy, chosen not for strength or rank, but for something the aliens called relational neutrality. To Elias, it simply meant he was good at listening and not panicking when faced with the impossible. Right now, the impossible was watching him. High above, seated on floating platforms arranged in a perfect arc, were the Veleri matrons. They were tall, elegant beings, their forms shaped like living art. Their skin shimmered in soft colors, silver, gold, deep blue, changing slowly as if responding to unseen music. Their faces were smooth and symmetrical, each feature balanced with careful precision. Beauty, Elias knew, was everything to the Veleri. One of the matrons leaned forward. Her voice flowed into the chamber, calm and musical, translated instantly by the device behind Elias' ear. "Human Elias Ward," she said, "you stand here as agreed. By ancient custom, you will choose." Elias kept his hands relaxed at his sides. He had practiced for this moment, but practice could not prepare him for the weight of it. "Choose one of our daughters," the matron continued, "and through her our peoples will be bound in trust." A soft hum filled the chamber. The floor ahead of Elias shifted, unfolding like petals of a flower. They appeared. One by one, Veleri women stepped forward into the light. They were breathtaking. Each daughter was tall and radiant, their skin glowing with complex patterns that moved gently across their bodies. Some shimmered like starlight. Others reflected colors Elias did not have names for. Their eyes were bright and focused, their posture flawless. Every movement felt rehearsed by nature itself. Elias felt his breath catch, not with desire but with awe. They were not just beautiful, they were designed. The daughters stood in a wide arc, all facing him, all waiting. Elias noticed something strange. None of them looked nervous. None of them seemed curious. They stood as statues, calm and certain, as if the outcome already belonged to them. The matron's voice returned. "Observe," she said. "Choose with care. Your decision reflects your species." Elias slowly walked forward, boots making soft sounds against the living floor. He studied the daughters, not with his eyes alone, but with his instincts. They were perfect, too perfect. Then he saw her. She stood at the far edge of the line, slightly apart from the others. At first, Elias almost missed her. Her skin was duller, lacking the flowing light of the others. The patterns across her body were uneven, breaking in places as if unfinished. One side of her face curved differently from the other. Her posture was careful, not confident. She did not try to shine. She did not look at the matrons. She looked at the floor. Elias stopped walking. The silence in the chamber deepened. He turned his body slightly, angling himself toward her. The Veleri daughters noticed. Some glanced sideways, their glowing eyes flickering with confusion. The matrons shifted on their platforms. Elias took another step, then another, until he stood directly in front of the one who did not belong. She looked up, startled. Her eyes met his, and Elias felt something tighten in his chest. Unlike the others, her eyes were alive with thought, not calm acceptance, not trained stillness. There was awareness there, curiosity, and something else. Expectation, not of being chosen, but of being overlooked. The translator whispered her name into Elias' ear. "Valith." Elias did not hesitate. "I choose her," he said clearly. The words echoed upward. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the chamber reacted. A ripple of color passed through the matrons, sharp and sudden. The soft hum faltered, then returned, uneven. One of the daughters gasped quietly. Another took a half step back. The matron who had spoken earlier rose from her platform. "Human," she said, her voice still calm but edged with something colder, "you may choose again." Elias shook his head. "No," he said, "I have chosen." A long pause followed. Valith's breathing became shallow. Her hands trembled slightly at her sides. She did not smile. She did not step forward. It was as if her body did not believe his words yet. The matron studied Elias carefully. "You are aware," she said, "that this one is imperfect." Elias met her gaze. "Yes," he replied. Another matron leaned toward the first, their voices blending in a soft exchange too complex for translation. Colors shifted across their forms, signals of confusion, concern, and something close to offense. At last, the first matron spoke again. "Explain," she said. "Why would a human reject harmony?" Elias took a slow breath. "I didn't reject it," he said. "I saw it." The chamber grew still. He turned slightly, addressing not just the matrons but the daughters as well. "You see beauty as balance," Elias continued. "As symmetry, as light that matches rules." He looked at Valeth again. "I see attention, thought, difference." The matron's colors darkened. "This one is a social burden," a different matron said. "Her form disrupts unity, her presence creates discomfort." Valeth flinched just barely. Elias noticed. "In my species," Elias said gently, "difference kept us alive." That drew their attention. "We survived ice and fire," he continued. "Darkness and distance. We survived because not all of us were the same. Some of us saw things others didn't. Some of us asked questions that made people uncomfortable." He paused. "Those people changed everything." Silence followed. Valeth finally moved, one small step forward. Her voice when she spoke was quiet but clear. "You are certain?" she asked him. Elias smiled, soft and honest. "I am," he said. For the first time, her eyes widened, not with fear, but with something close to disbelief. The matrons descended slowly, their platforms lowering until they hovered closer to the floor. "Very well," the first matron said. "The choice is accepted." A pause. "But understand this, human. Your decision will be remembered." Elias nodded. "I hope so," he replied. The chamber began to change again. Light softened. The other daughters stepped back, their forms blending into the walls as if they had never been there. Soon only Elias and Valeth remained at the center. She stood beside him, unsure where to place her hands, her posture still careful. "You don't have to stand like that," Elias said quietly. "Like what?" she asked. "Like you're about to disappear." She considered that. "I usually do," she said. Elias looked at her, really looked at her. "Well," he said, "today you didn't." Valeth lifted her gaze toward the glowing ceiling, then back to him. "Human Elias Ward," she said slowly, "I believe you may have made a very unusual mistake." Elias chuckled. "Humanity is built on those," he replied. Somewhere above them, the Valeri matrons watched in silence, uncertain, unsettled, and for the first time curious. And Valeth, the one never meant to be chosen, stood at the center of something new. Elias Ward walked at a steady pace, his hands clasped behind his back. The living walls glowed softly, changing color with every step, as if the structure itself was listening. Beside him walked Valeth. She stayed half a step behind, not because anyone told her to, because she always had. Her movements were careful, measured. She watched the floor more than the path ahead, as if afraid the ground might reject her. Every now and then she glanced at Elias, then quickly looked away when she noticed him watching back. Neither spoke for a while. Finally, Elias broke the silence. "You don't have to follow me like that," he said gently. Valeth paused, confused. "I am the chosen," she said. "Is it not correct that I should remain near you?" "Near, yes," Elias replied. "Behind, no." She considered this. Slowly, she adjusted her pace until they walked side by side. It felt strange to her. No Valeri had ever walked with her before. They reached a circular chamber meant for diplomatic rest. The door opened without sound. Inside, the space was warm and softly lit. Smooth seats curved around a low table. The air smelled faintly sweet, like rain on stone. Valeth stood still at the entrance. "This chamber is designed for honored guests," she said. "Are you certain I am permitted to enter?" Elias stopped and turned to her. "You were chosen," he said simply. "That makes you honored." Her chest tightened at the word. She stepped inside. The door closed behind them. For a moment, Valeth did not know what to do. There were no instructions, no ritual marks on the floor, no guidance from the matrons. She stood there, hands folded, waiting for correction. Elias sat down. "You can sit," he said, pointing to a seat across from him. She hesitated, then sat carefully, as if the seat might disappear. Silence settled again, but this time it was softer. Valeth finally spoke. "You chose me," she said, "but I do not understand why." Elias leaned back slightly. "That's fair," he said. "Most people don't." Her head tilted. "People?" she repeated. "Humans," he clarified. She studied him closely now, not his face alone, but the way he held himself, relaxed, open, unafraid of saying the wrong thing. "You were given many superior options," she said. "More harmonious, more suitable." "I know," Elias replied. "Then why me?" Elias thought for a moment. He wanted to be honest, but also careful. "Because everyone else was prepared to be chosen," he said at last. "You weren't." Valeth's eyes widened slightly. That is correct, she admitted. I was placed there for tradition, not expectation. That matters, Elia said. To you, she said quietly. Yes, he agreed. She looked down at her hands. The light patterns on her skin flickered unevenly, reacting to her thoughts. In Velari culture, she said, worth is visible, beauty shows function, symmetry shows stability. And difference? Elias asked, her voice softened. Difference shows error. Elias frowned, not in anger, but in sadness. On Earth, he said, difference saved us. She looked up again. How? He smiled slightly. When our world was harsh, the ones who didn't fit survived in strange ways. People who thought differently invented tools. People who felt deeply created rules to protect others. People who were ignored noticed danger first. He paused. None of them were considered perfect at the time. Valeth absorbed this slowly. You value imperfection, she said. We value people, Elias replied. The words settled between them. A soft chime echoed through the chamber. The matrons had opened a channel. A shimmering shape formed above the table, resolving into the image of the leading matron. Her colors were controlled but tense. Human Elias Ward, she said. You are required to explain your choice to the council. Elias nodded. I expected that. The matron's gaze shifted to Valeth. And you, she said, will attend. Valeth stiffened. Is there an error? She asked carefully. No, the matron replied. There is concern. The image faded. Valeth's hands tightened. They have never asked me to speak before, she said. Then it's about time, Elias said. She looked at him, uncertain. What if I say the wrong thing? Elias stood. Then you'll be human for a moment, he said. That confused her, but it also comforted her. The council chamber was smaller than the selection hall, but heavier with presence. The matrons formed a circle, their attention sharp and focused. Valeth felt their eyes on every uneven line of her form. Elias stood calmly at her side. State your reason, one matron said. Elias stepped forward. You asked me to choose a bridge between our species, he said. I did. Another matron's colors pulsed. She is flawed. So are we, Elias replied. A ripple passed through the council. This one disrupts social cohesion, a matron said. She notices what others miss, Elias answered. That has no value without beauty. Elias turned to Valeth. Tell them, he said softly, her breath caught. Tell them what? She asked. What you see, he said. She swallowed, then she spoke. When I was young, Valeth said, I noticed patterns in the city lights, small shifts. No one else saw them. The matrons listened, silent. I reported them, she continued. I was told to focus on presentation. Her voice steadied. The patterns predicted system inefficiencies. I adjusted simulations in private. She looked up. They matched reality. The room changed, not visibly, but something shifted. You never shared this, a matron said. I was not asked, Valeth replied. Elias smiled faintly. On Earth, he said, that's when we start asking questions. The matrons exchanged color signals again. Finally, the leading matron spoke. You will remain under observation, she said to Valeth. Both of you. Elias inclined his head. Fair enough. As they left the chamber, Valeth exhaled shakily. I spoke out of turn, she said. You spoke the truth, Elias replied. That usually feels dangerous the first time. She looked at him. You are not like other diplomats, she said. Good, he answered. Neither are you. They walked on side by side. For the first time in her life, Valeth felt something unfamiliar growing inside her. Not fear, not shame, but possibility. And somewhere deep within the Velari structure, unseen systems began to react, not to beauty, but to change. That was what Valeth had been told her entire life. Yet here she was, standing inside it. The chamber curved outward like a glass shell, opening into a wide view of space. Stars drifted slowly beyond the transparent wall, steady and silent. Lines of light moved across the floor, showing live system data in Velari symbols. Valeth stood very still. Elias noticed she was holding her breath. You okay? He asked. Yes, she replied quickly. Then more honestly, I am uncertain. That's normal, Elias said. First time anywhere new is. This place is not new, she said quietly. It was simply never meant for me. Elias did not like that sentence. He walked closer to the viewing wall and looked out at the stars. Funny thing about humans, he said. Most of our progress came from places we weren't meant to be. Valeth watched him, her eyes tracking his relaxed movements. The matrons had ordered them here under joint observation. Officially, it was to study human-Velari interaction. Unofficially, Valeth knew the truth. They were watching her. The floor pulsed gently beneath her feet. Her skin responded without her asking it to. Numbers appeared in her mind, patterns aligned. She frowned. "Something is wrong," she said. Elias turned. "With what?" "The drift," she replied. "It is small, but it is not random." Elias blinked. "Drift of what?" She hesitated. "Of everything," she said. She stepped forward, eyes fixed on the moving light lines across the floor. "These systems overlap," she continued. "Navigation, energy flow. Structural balance." Her hands lifted slightly, fingers moving in the air as if touching invisible shapes. "They are meant to correct each other," she said, "but the timing is off." Elias walked closer. "Can you explain it in human terms?" he asked gently. She thought for a moment. "It is like walking," she said. "If your left foot adjusts after your right foot has already moved, you stumble." Elias nodded. "That sounds not good." "It is not urgent," she said. "Yet." The word hung between them. Elias activated his communicator. "Elias Ward to Velari Systems Council," he said. "I think you should hear this." The response was slow. Then the leading matron's voice came through. "Speak." Elias looked at Valeth. She swallowed. "The megastructure is correcting itself too late," she said. "The delay is small, but it is increasing." Silence followed. "That is impossible," a matron said. "Our systems are flawless." Valeth's shoulders stiffened. "They are precise," she said carefully, "not flawless." Elias watched the exchange closely. "What happens if the delay keeps growing?" he asked. Valeth hesitated. "Efficiency loss," she said. "Then instability, then confusion." She stopped there. That was enough. The matrons spoke among themselves in rapid color shifts. Finally, the leading matron said, "We will review the data." The channel closed. Valeth lowered her hands slowly, her light patterns dimmed. "Did I overstep?" she asked. Elias shook his head. "You did exactly what needed doing," he said. She did not look convinced. They sat together near the viewing wall. Stars passed quietly beyond them. "You see things very clearly," Elias said after a while. Valeth looked at her hands. "I always have," she said. "That is why it was uncomfortable." "For others?" he asked. "For me," she replied. "When no one wants what you can offer, you begin to doubt it." Elias leaned back against the wall. "On Earth," he said, "we call that being ahead of your time." She turned toward him. "That sounds lonely," she said. "It can be," he admitted. "But it also means you get to choose your own path." She thought about that. The observation wing lights shifted suddenly. A soft alarm tone echoed, not loud, not sharp, just enough to be noticed. Valeth stood immediately. "The delay increased," she said, "faster than expected." Elias was already activating his communicator. "Council, you seeing this?" he asked. "Yes," the matron replied, voice tight. "Our instruments confirm minor instability." Valeth stepped toward the central display. "May I adjust the simulation?" she asked. There was hesitation. "Then proceed." Her fingers moved through the air. The light lines responded instantly, rearranging themselves into new shapes. Elias watched in awe. She was not guessing. She was reading the structure. "The systems are arguing," Valeth said. "Each believes it is correct." "That sounds familiar," Elias muttered. She almost smiled. "If you align correction cycles," she continued, "they will listen again." "Can you do that?" Elias asked. "Yes," she said, "but they will not accept it unless the change is authorized." Elias turned back to the communicator. "You heard her," he said. "Authorize the change." Silence stretched, this time longer. Finally, the matron spoke. "Authorization granted," she said. "On your responsibility, human." Elias did not hesitate. "Happy to take it," he replied. Valeth's light patterns brightened, not evenly but strongly. She completed the adjustment. The alarm faded. The chamber lights steadied. Space beyond them felt calmer. "It worked," Elias said softly. "Yes," Valeth replied, "for now." The council reconvened soon after. This time, Valeth was not asked to stand at the edge. She was placed at the center. The matron's colors were different now, less rigid, more uncertain. "You saw what our systems did not," the leading matron said. Valeth inclined her head. "I always do," she replied. "That ability was undervalued," another matron said. Elias raised an eyebrow. "That's one way to say it." The matrons ignored his tone. "You are not beautiful by our standards," the leader said to Valeth. "Yet your perception has preserved harmony." Valeth's chest tightened. She waited. "Explain," the matron said, "how humans recognize worth without appearance." All eyes turned to Elias. He stood. "We learned the hard way," he said. "Nature doesn't care what looks good, it cares what works." He looked around the chamber. "Our people survived because we stopped asking who fit best and started asking who helped." The matrons absorbed this. You choose function over form, one said. We choose potential, Elias replied. Valeth felt something shift inside her, not fear, not relief, belonging. The council dismissed them soon after. As they walked back through the corridors, Valeth felt lighter. You defended me, she said. I supported the truth, Elias replied. You did the work. She slowed her steps. No one has ever said that, she admitted. Elias smiled. Get used to it, he said. Humans are annoying like that. She made a small sound that might have been laughter. As they reached the rest chamber, Valeth looked out at the stars again. For the first time, she said, I do not feel like an error. Elias followed her gaze. Good, he said, because the universe has enough perfect things. She turned to him. What does it need? She asked. Elias answered without thinking. People willing to see differently. Valeth's uneven light patterns glowed warmly. And deep within the Velari megastructure, systems adjusted, not because they were ordered to, but because someone finally understood them. Valeth noticed it first in the corridors. Velari who once walked past her without a glance now hesitated. Some slowed their steps. Others looked twice, then quickly looked away as if caught doing something improper. No one spoke to her, but they noticed her. Elias noticed too. They're thinking, he said quietly as they walked through a wide passage filled with soft blue light. Thinking can be dangerous, Valeth replied. For systems that don't like updates, Elias said, smiling. She did not smile back, not yet. They reached a viewing platform overlooking one of the inner rings of the megastructure. Below them, thousands of Velari moved in smooth, organized streams, their glowing forms blending into patterns that looked almost planned. Almost, Valeth frowned. The flow is uneven, she said. Elias leaned on the railing. Social flow, he guessed. Yes, she replied. They are adjusting, but without direction. That's usually what happens when beliefs crack, Elias said. She considered that. I am the crack, she said. Elias shook his head. No, he said, you're the pressure test. She did not fully understand, but the words stayed with her. Later that cycle, the council summoned them again. This time, the chamber felt different. The matrons' colors were muted, less confident. Their usual perfect symmetry was disrupted by slight variations in glow. To Valeth's trained senses, it was obvious. They were uncertain. Human Elias Ward, the leading matron said, your presence has accelerated disruption. Elias nodded calmly. That tends to happen when new data enters a closed system. The matrons did not appreciate the metaphor, but they did not dismiss it either. You elevated one previously deemed insignificant, another matron said, her tone sharp. Now others question classification. Valeth's hands tightened. Is that unacceptable? She asked carefully. The matrons turned toward her. You are not authorized to address the council without invitation, one said. Elias stepped forward slightly. She's authorized by results, he said. Silence followed. That was new. Finally, the leading matron raised a hand. Speak, she said to Valeth. Valeth drew a steady breath. The system delays are not fully corrected, she said. We stabilized symptoms, not cause. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Our engineers report stability, a matron said. They report what they are trained to see, Valeth replied, not what exists. Elias watched carefully. This was not rebellion, this was clarity. What is the cause? The leader asked. Valeth closed her eyes. When this structure was designed, she said, it assumed uniform behavior, perfect response times, identical priorities. She opened her eyes. But living beings are not uniform, not even Velari. A pause. The structure is adapting to us, she continued. But our rules forbid deviation. The system is correcting against change instead of with it. Elias felt a quiet thrill. She was explaining humanity without saying the word. The matrons exchanged signals. You suggest redesign, one said. I suggest listening, Valeth replied. The room stilled. Listening was not a Velari strength. Elias spoke. On Earth, he said, we learned that rigid systems break, flexible ones bend and survive. The leading matron studied him. You imply our perfection is a weakness. Elias met her gaze. I imply it's unfinished. That word lingered, unfinished. The council dismissed them again, but not before assigning Valeth an official role. Observer consultant, the matron announced. Temporary. Temporary was still more than Valeth had ever been. Outside the chamber, Valeth stopped walking. They did not correct me, she said. That's progress, Elias replied. They did not praise me either. That's politics, he said. She tilted her head. You are very calm. I trust systems that learn, he said, and people who do. That night's cycle, the megastructure dimmed slightly, not enough to alarm, enough to notice. Valeth woke instantly, her mind filled with misaligned data. "This is wrong," she whispered. Elias sat up on the opposite side of the room. "You feel it too?" "Yes," she said. "The structure is hesitating." They rushed through corridors, guided by Valeth's instincts rather than maps. The observation wing was already active when they arrived. Engineers, beautiful, confident, unprepared, stood around glowing displays. "The core alignment is fluctuating," one said, "but readings contradict each other." Valeth stepped forward. "They are all correct," she said, "and all wrong." She touched the display. The patterns bloomed in response. "The system is waiting," she said. "For what?" Elias asked. "For permission," she replied. The engineers stared. "Permission to change?" one asked. "Yes," Valeth said. "It has learned that adaptation is forbidden unless approved." Elias felt a chill. They had taught the structure obedience, not wisdom. He activated his communicator. "Council," he said, "you need to see this." The matrons arrived quickly, their presence heavy. "The structure is destabilizing," one said. "It is asking a question," Valeth corrected. "What question?" the leader asked. "How much difference is allowed?" Valeth replied. Silence filled the chamber. Elias spoke softly. "That's the same question every human society faces." The matrons looked at the vast displays, at the drifting patterns, at the system that mirrored their beliefs too well. "If we permit deviation," one said, "we lose control." "If you forbid it," Elias replied, "you lose everything slowly." The leader turned to Valeth. "What do you propose?" Valeth's voice was steady. "Let the structure adjust within ranges," she said. "Not perfect symmetry, healthy variance." "You would rewrite foundational doctrine," a matron said. Valeth nodded. "Yes." The matrons withdrew to confer. Time stretched. The structure dimmed further, not failing, but waiting. Finally, the leader returned. "Authorization granted," she said, "under human oversight." Elias raised an eyebrow. "I see how this is," he said. "When it works, it's Velari wisdom. When it's risky, it's human fault." The matron did not deny it. Valeth began the adjustments. The structure responded immediately. Light steadied, flows aligned. Not perfectly, but comfortably. The megastructure exhaled. Engineers stared in silence. "This design accepts difference," one whispered. "Yes," Valeth said. "It always needed to." Later, as the system stabilized, Elias and Valeth stood alone again at the viewing wall. "You changed more than code today," Elias said. Valeth watched the stars. "I was allowed to," she replied. "That's the real change," he said. She turned toward him. "Human Elias Ward," she said. "What happens next?" Elias smiled. "Next," he said, "people start asking why they were never allowed to be different." Below them, Velari paths shifted slightly, not chaotic, not perfect, alive. And Valeth, the one once hidden at the edge, stood at the center of a future that could no longer ignore her. They simply appear small, unwanted, and impossible to erase. Valeth noticed the questions in the training halls. Velari students paused longer during lessons. They stared at displays instead of instructors. Some adjusted their posture not to improve symmetry but to feel more comfortable. Comfort was not a Velari priority, yet now it existed. Elias walked beside Valeth through one such hall. The walls glowed with learning patterns flowing smoothly in shapes once designed to encourage balance and beauty. Now the patterns changed. "They altered the teaching visuals," Elias said. "Yes," Valeth replied. "They now allow variance." "That's a big step," he said. "For Velari," she agreed, "it is unsettling." Several students noticed them. A few bowed slightly not to Elias but to Valeth. She froze. "I do not hold rank," she whispered. "Symbols don't need rank," Elias said quietly. "They just exist." She did not like that. Later that cycle, the council chamber was full. Not just matrons this time, but advisors, designers, and cultural overseers. Their colors clashed softly, no longer moving in perfect harmony. Disagreement. The leading matron addressed Elias first. "Human Elias Ward," she said, "your influence is expanding beyond agreement." Elias folded his hands. "Change doesn't ask permission," he said. "It asks questions." "You introduced instability," another matron said. "I introduced an example," Elias replied. They turned to Valeth. "You have become a focal point," the leader said. "This was not authorized." Valeth straightened. "I did not seek it," she said. "I only answered when asked." "That is the issue," the matron replied. "Others now ask as well." Elias smiled slightly. "That's how progress usually starts." The matrons did not smile. Our society is built on visible worth, one said. Now some claim unseen value matters more. Valith felt her chest tight. I do not claim superiority, she said. Only possibility. A murmur moved through the chamber. Possibility was dangerous. You destabilize hierarchy, an overseer said. Hierarchy already destabilized itself, Elias said calmly. It just took a while to notice. The council dismissed them with no decision. That silence was worse than rejection. Outside, Valith stopped in the corridor. They are afraid, she said. Yes, Elias replied. Fear means something important is changing. I do not wish to cause harm, she said. You aren't, he said. You're revealing it. That night's cycle, Velari public channels lit up. Not with arguments, with stories. A maintenance worker shared how her uneven perception helped detect stress fractures early. A data analyst admitted he always saw better solutions but hid them to maintain appearance ranking. Others listened, then shared. Valith read the messages quietly, her light patterns flickering. They sound like me, she said. They sound human, Elias replied. That worried her. Is that allowed? She asked. He laughed softly. Cultures borrow what works. The borrowing did not go unnoticed. Human leadership contacted Elias. Their message was polite but firm. Your actions risk over-integration, the director said. We are observers, not reformers. Elias leaned back. We already reformed by existing, he replied. Be careful, the director warned. If Velari culture fractures, blame will fall on humanity. Elias ended the call slowly. Valith had heard enough. I am becoming a liability, she said. No, Elias said. You're becoming inconvenient. That is worse, she replied. The next council meeting confirmed it. The matrons presented a proposal. Valith will be reassigned, the leader said, to a research sector with limited exposure. Valith understood immediately. Isolation, not punishment, containment. Elias stood. No, he said. The chamber stilled. You do not have authority, a matron said. I have responsibility, Elias replied. You asked me to build trust. We did, the leader agreed. Not transformation. Elias looked around. Transformation happens when trust works. The matrons turned to Valith. You will accept reassignment, one said, for stability. Valith felt every gaze pressed down on her. Once she would have agreed instantly. Now she hesitated. I will accept learning, she said slowly, but not erasure. A sharp intake of breath echoed. Elias felt proud. You are exceeding your role, the leader said. Valith lifted her head. So did the structure, she replied. Silence. The matrons withdrew again, this time longer. Outside the chamber, Velari citizens waited, not formally. Not organized, but they waited. Some recognized Valith. They did not cheer, they watched. The council returned. The reassignment is suspended, the leader announced. Temporarily, Elias exhaled. But, she continued, your presence will be monitored closely. Valith inclined her head. I am used to that, she said. Afterward, they walked through a lower ring, less polished, more functional. Velari workers paused to observe them openly now. One approached Valith hesitantly. I see patterns too, he said. But I thought they were flaws. Valith met his gaze. They are tools, she said. He nodded slowly, as if a weight had lifted. As he walked away, Elias whispered, see. Valith watched the movement around them. This change spreads without direction, she said. It could destabilize. That's why it needs guidance, Elias replied. From whom? She asked. He looked at her. From people who remember what it feels like to be ignored. She did not answer, but she understood. Later, alone in the observation wing, Valith studied the structure again. It was calmer now, not perfect, balanced through adaptation. Elias joined her. You're carrying a lot, he said. I never wanted to be seen, she replied. That's okay, he said. Leadership often starts that way. She turned toward him. What if they reject this path, she asked. Then they choose comfort over growth, he said, but they can't unknow what they've seen. She looked out at the stars. Humans change worlds quietly, she said. Elias smiled. We change ourselves first, he replied. Below them, Velari paths continued shifting. Hierarchy bent, beauty widened, and Valith, once hidden, now questioned, stood at the edge of something larger than fear, not a rebellion, a realization. And realizations, once shared, never returned to silence. That alone made it dangerous. Velari announcements were usually quiet, shared through controlled channels and filtered language. This one was broadcast across the megastructure, visible in halls, learning chambers, and public plazas. A formal evaluation of worth. Valith saw the title appear on a glowing wall and felt her light patterns flicker in shock. "They are calling me," she said softly. Elias read the rest of the message. "Not just you," he said. "They're calling the idea." The evaluation would be open, observed, discussed, tradition versus outcome, beauty versus contribution, certainty versus change. Velari society had never done this before. "They want to measure me," Valith said, "in front of everyone." "They want to measure themselves," Elias replied. "You're just the mirror." That did not comfort her. The forum was held in the largest open space of the megastructure. Thousands of Velari gathered, their glowing forms filling terraces and floating platforms. Their light was less uniform than before, colors varied, patterns pulsed unevenly. Change had already arrived. Valith stood at the center platform, no ornament, no enhancement. No correction, just herself. Elias stood nearby, officially silent, unofficially present. The leading matron addressed the crowd. "Our society has long believed that worth is visible," she said. "Harmony has guided us, beauty has defined us." Her colors shifted uneasily. "Recent events challenge this belief," the crowd stirred. "Valith," the matron continued, "you will present your value." Valith swallowed. This was not how Velari worked. Value was assumed or denied without explanation. She looked at Elias. He gave a small nod. She stepped forward. "I was born uneven," Valith said. "I cannot change that." A ripple moved through the audience. "I was taught that this made me lesser," she continued. "So I learned quietly. I watched systems. I listened to patterns others ignored." She raised her hands and data appeared around her, flowing, shifting, alive. "I did not do this to prove worth," she said. "I did it because it needed doing." Silence followed. Then a challenger stepped forward, a Velari of perfect symmetry glowing brightly. "If your worth must be explained," he said, "then it is already inferior." A familiar belief, comforting, sharp. Valith met his gaze. "Does a bridge need to explain itself?" she asked. "Or does it only need to hold?" Murmurs spread. The matron raised a hand. "The human envoy may speak," she said. Elias stepped forward. "I was told humans would disrupt your culture," he said calmly. "That fear was correct." The crowd focused. "We disrupt systems that confuse appearance with truth," he continued. "On Earth, we learned that survival favors those who solve problems, not those who look good doing it." A few Velari bristled. "You impose your values," one called out. "No," Elias replied. "I reveal yours." He gestured toward the crowd. "You already changed. You just haven't admitted why." The matrons conferred silently, then the leader spoke again. "Valith," she said, "if beauty no longer defines worth, what does?" Valith hesitated. This was the real question. She closed her eyes. "When the structure faltered," she said, "it did not seek perfection, it sought balance." She opened her eyes. "Worth is contribution," she said. "It is noticing what others miss. It is helping the whole endure." A long pause followed, then something unexpected happened. A young Velari stepped forward from the crowd. "I am asymmetrical," she said. "I was told to correct it." Another followed. "I think differently," he said. "I hide it." More voices joined, quiet, honest, unplanned. The matrons watched as control slipped, not violently, not loudly, but permanently. The leader turned to Elias. "This was not your agreement," she said. Elias nodded. "No," he said. "This is your future." The matron turned back to Valith. "You have altered our society," she said. "Not through force, but through example." Valith bowed her head. "I only answered when asked," she said. The matron studied her. "That may be the most dangerous thing of all." The forum ended without decree. No law was changed. No hierarchy dissolved. But something more powerful occurred. Permission. People were allowed to question. Later, in the quiet of the observation wing, Valith stood shaking slightly. "I spoke against everything I was taught," she said. Elias leaned against the wall. "And the structure didn't collapse," he said. "No," she replied. "It adapted." She looked at him. "You chose me knowing this would happen." Elias smiled gently. "I chose you because you were already doing it," he said. A message arrived from the council. Short, careful. Evaluation inconclusive. Continued observation approved. Valith laughed softly. "They cannot undo it," she said. "No," Elias replied. "They can only slow it." She looked out at the stars. "What will humans say?" she asked. "That this went better than expected," Elias said. She tilted her head. "And what will you say?" He thought for a moment. "That sometimes," he said, "the bravest thing is letting others see you clearly." Below them, Velari society moved, less smooth, more alive. And Valith, once labeled an error, had become a question no one could ignore. Not ugly, not perfect. Necessary, Velari summits were usually exact things, clear goals, precise language, clean endings. This one felt unfinished, like a question still forming. Valith stood beside Elias at the edge of the Grand Assembly Hall. It was the same place where she had once stood unnoticed, placed among others only to fill tradition. Now she was visible, not polished, not corrected, seen. Across the chamber, the Velari matrons gathered one last time. Their colors were calmer than before, softer, less rigid. The audience was smaller but more varied. Designers, engineers, educators, and citizens who once would never have been invited. Difference had entered the room. The leading matron spoke. "This summit concludes the human Velari Accord," she said, "but its meaning has changed." She looked at Elias. "Humanity was invited to observe," she continued. "Instead, you reflected us." Elias inclined his head slightly. "Sometimes that's all it takes," he said. The matron turned to Valith. "And you," she said, "were never meant to stand here." Valith felt the familiar tightening in her chest. "No," the matron continued. "You were meant to disappear." A murmur passed through the hall. "But you did not," the matron said. "You remained, you contributed, you changed outcomes." She paused. "We can no longer deny this." Valith breathed slowly. "What does this mean?" she asked. The matron raised her hands. Light spread across the chamber, forming new symbols. "Velari society will no longer assign worth by appearance alone," she said. "Contribution will be recognized. Difference will be permitted." It was not perfect language, but it was a beginning. Elias smiled. "That's how humans usually start too," he said quietly. The matron looked at him. "You chose her," she said, "knowing what she was." Elias shook his head. "No," he said, "I chose her because of who she was." Valith turned toward him, surprised. "You never told me that," she said. He smiled. "I wanted you to know it yourself," the matron continued. "The alliance will proceed," she said, "but its foundation has changed." She gestured toward Valith. "She will serve as liaison of adaptive systems." Not because she was chosen, but because she proved necessary. Valith's light patterns flickered wildly. "Me?" she asked. "Yes," the matron replied, "if you accept." Valith looked at Elias. Once she would have asked what was expected of her. Now she asked something else. "Will I be allowed to fail?" she asked. The matrons exchanged uncertain signals. Elias answered first. "Yes," he said, "that's how learning works." The matron hesitated, then nodded. "You will be allowed to fail," she said, "and to adapt." Valith bowed, not in submission, but in gratitude. "I accept," she said. The summit ended without ceremony. No grand light display, no perfect symmetry, just agreement. Later in the observation wing, Valith and Elias stood together one last time before his departure. The stars outside felt closer now. "I was afraid," Valith admitted, "that once the alliance was complete you would leave and everything would return to how it was." Elias folded his arms. "Some things will," he said. "That's normal." "And the rest?" she asked. "The rest won't fit back anymore," he replied. She considered that. "I was called ugly," she said softly, "because I did not match expectation." Elias looked at her. "On Earth," he said, "we have a saying, 'The nail that sticks out gets hammered.'" Her light dimmed. "But," he continued, "we also say that nothing new is built without bent nails." She laughed quietly. "That is a strange comfort," she said. "Humans specialize in strange comforts," he replied. A message arrived on Elias' communicator. Departure clearance, time. "I will return," Elias said. "Others will come too." Valith nodded. "When they do," she said, "I will be ready." He turned to leave, then paused. "One more thing," he said. She looked at him. "You were never ugly," he said. "You were just surrounded by the wrong measure." Her light patterns glowed warmly. "And you," she said, "were very special too." Elias smiled. "I had good teachers." As his shuttle departed, Valith remained at the viewing wall. Below her, Velari society moved, not smoothly, not perfectly, but openly. Children played with unbalanced light forms. Engineers argued in public spaces. Educators rewrote lessons to include error as instruction. Difference had become visible. Valith walked through the corridors, not behind anyone, not ahead, among them. Some recognized her. Some did not. That was fine. Her work began quietly. She adjusted systems, listened to people, asked questions others avoided, not because she was chosen, because she chose to stay. Far away on Earth, Elias reported to human leadership. "They didn't change because we told them to," he said. "They changed because one of them showed them what they were missing." The director nodded slowly. "And what does that say about humanity?" she asked. Elias smiled. That we don't win by being strongest, he said. We win by noticing who everyone else ignores. Back on the megastructure, Valeth stood beneath the stars again. Once she had been the ugliest, now she was essential. And humanity's greatest legacy echoed quietly across the galaxy. Not conquest, not dominance, but a single dangerous idea. Everyone has value, even when the universe says otherwise.